Buenos dias all, RGT85 here. Hope everyone's having a great day. I feel sick as a dog. I am pretty sure I ate something bad last night. I feel like death, creeping death, as Metallica would say, but the show must go on, so give the video a like to make me feel a little bit better. But we've got some video game news to talk about, some really interesting stories, actually. I'm just going to try to not appear on camera all that much because I really haven't slept all that much. First time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share on the video. Without any further ado, let's talk about what's going on in the world of video games, and there's a spicy story going on right now involving the PlayStation 5, to an extent the Xbox Series X, and free-to-play games. Now, of course, the free-to-play moniker, the free-to-play business model has been growing, I think, exponentially. There's been a lot of successes, but I feel like for every success of a free-to-play game, there's like 10 complete failures. You kind of have to tap in to a market that's kind of a bit undiscovered on that side of things, or just have a gameplay hook that keeps people wanting to come back for more and more. Now, obviously, a lot of these games sort of live and die on the cosmetics aspect of the game, or battle passes and things like that. Essentially, money that you spend in the game in order to keep the game going, because it's a free-to-play game. Now, with most free-to-play games, I personally do not buy anything. Like, once in a while, I might treat myself to something, but just for the most part, I don't really care. If it's something free-to-play, I will just play what exists there. I'm not really big on cosmetics and stuff like that. That doesn't really do much for me, but I do know that a lot of people get roped into this. Well, there was a report earlier this week that Xbox was looking into basically monetizing in-game ads for free-to-play games, and now it looks like Sony is actually getting involved in this as well. This one seems a little bit more concrete than the Xbox thing did, because this is coming to us from Business Insider. They reported that 3 different sources have told them, credible sources I'm assuming, that Sony plans to implement advertisements in free-to-play games in order to give developers another way to monetize these games. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be pissed off about this and, you know, not get it. But to me, and this might seem very anti-RGT, I'm going to assume it could be the sickness that's consuming my body and sending me into an early grave. But I don't necessarily hate this. I don't think it's a bad thing. Like, yes, is it a pain in the ass to deal with ads in your game? Of course it is. Like, let's just get that out of the way. But these free-to-play games exist on a business model of the fact that they're praying that people spend money within the game itself on these things like cosmetics, on these things like battle passes, if the game offers a battle pass. So why not offer another way for these developers to monetize the games and allow them to make more money to keep these free-to-play games alive longer? Because a lot of free-to-play games just, you know, they fall off a cliff. They're hot for a month and then nobody cares about them. Nobody talks about them. So what ends up happening is, you know, that game just fades into obscurity. I feel like it's not the end of the world. Now, my buddy Brett, who helps me out on the channel sometimes, actually made a very funny sort of pseudo advertisement of what to expect with this. I'll have his Twitter handle on the screen and in the description box down below. Please go follow him on Twitter. But here's what he came up with.
This gruesome execution is brought to you by Applebee's. Eating good in the neighborhood. Explosive flavors, just waiting for a taste.
Now, obviously, I don't think it's going to be that bad. I just sort of see it being like billboards and stuff in certain games. And yes, you know, it's going to be plaguing these games. There's no really way around it. You're going to be seeing like advertisements on stuff and, you know, in-game ads like, oh, here's a cool Coca-Cola suit, drink Coke, because Coke is good for you, it'll rot your teeth. But this is just the way that things are going to have to work for these free-to-play games to survive. I think that it actually offers a bit of an interesting sort of dichotomy where you could have a free-to-play base game that runs on advertisements and then have maybe like a $10 game that doesn't have the advertisements in it, and you still will have a bigger community playing this game because people are going to play the free-to-play version game. So I don't hate this. like, I don't hate it. I think it's an inconvenience. I don't think that it's necessarily a good thing, but if it means that more free-to-play games can come along based on little things like advertisements, like, you know, is that really the end of the world? You know, is that really a terrible thing? You're allowing people to play your game for free, and then maybe down the road they'll want to upgrade to a non-advertisement based version of the game. These games have to make money. If they don't make money, they go away. We've seen it time and time again with free-to-play games. All of these successful free-to-play games, guess what? They have a large user base who dumps money into it. So, you know, obviously implementation will be very, very important, but I don't necessarily think this is like the be-all, end-all for things. You already have advertisements in games that you pay $60 or $70 for, you know, with in-game ads for different, you know, companies and stuff like that. Is this really going to be anything different? Now, of course, people can abuse this, and that'll be really the interesting thing to see. But as it stands now, like, I don't know. I don't think it's the end of the world, but maybe you do. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And finally, there have been lots of leaks lately pertaining to the Nintendo Switch Online service. Of course, we've talked about pretty much all of these. The scheduled maintenance coming up now looks like it could be something Sega Genesis related. I'm not going to dig too deep into that. If it does end up happening, I will just play the Sega Genesis games and guide you on whether they're bangers or not. Of course, we have the addition of Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance being talked about, but there's other systems that still exist for the Switch Online service, such as the NES, Super Nintendo, the N64, and the aforementioned Sega Genesis that still need more games. Well, there's a very interesting leak that is going on right now that sort of pertains to all this other information that we have been talking about. So I want to go over this with you guys because there's some fascinating stuff in here. All right, so this information is coming to us from Caitlin Melenis on Twitter, Orchestra, at Orchestra. Go follow them, Orchestra. I guess it's like orchestra, but basically they've been talking about the leaks and they found a bunch of very interesting things on the NES side of things. Now I'm going to put up the video right now of this so it's more full screen, but essentially, like, there's a bunch of games within the master list, and then there are games that don't exist on the NES Online service that have supposedly been found within various leaks that have been going on. There's a better picture of it. She says that the leaked application has a build, or they, no, it says her pronouns are she, RGT's doing okay. The leaked application has a build date of October 2019, and the games being rolled out officially have mostly lined up within the leaked application. So it would appear that the plans for releases were set up far in advance, and this shows what they might release. Now, obviously looking at the games, like, these are games that we have on the service, but then you get into some interesting stuff. That's a lot of Mega Man right there. You know, that's, look at this. That's a lot of Mega Man. That is a lot of Mega Man. That's like every Mega Man game that pretty much exists. Who do we have here? Who do we have here? A little Castlevania action going on here. So I find this to be very interesting. Now, this could be like a fake. You know, it could be an elaborate hoax or something like that. But this seems like a lot of time and effort to fool, like, not a whole lot of people in order to do this. And obviously there's special editions of these games as well. They go on to say that the special editions might not necessarily be, you know, an accurate thing. It could just be something like a placeholder, which, you know, it is what it is. Is Nightshade available on the NES Online service? If it is not, it needs to be, because Nightshade is freaking awesome. It's one of the most unique NES games to date. But it seems like these are the games that could be potentially coming in the future. And it does kind of make sense when you think about it, because, I mean, these games are not just, you know, as much as I like to joke about it, where they're just like picked out of random or whatever, you obviously have to have deals in place in order to have these games be accessible on your system. You obviously have to have deals in place in order to utilize these games on these services. So it's not like it's just kind of living on a whim. As much as I like to joke about that, there's a lot of planning into it. Now, the planning might not coincide with when you should release stuff. Like, maybe you should have, you know, put a Mega Man or two on the service already, considering how long it's been. But maybe this is part of a bigger picture. Maybe it's part of a bigger thing that Nintendo is indeed doing. So it looks like these games will be coming to the Switch Online service, and those are bangers. All right, these are games that, yes, you could buy compilations that include these games, but if you don't want to buy them, you can now play them on your service, hopefully going forward in the future. I really feel like we're due for sort of like a refresh of the Nintendo Switch Online games and stuff like that. Like, just sort of like, not necessarily like scorching the earth or anything like that, but just doing like a big boost, doing a big introduction to multiple games instead of just doing the small little trickle down feed, because of the fact that, you know, people are getting tired of these systems. People want to play these classic games and they want to play them on their Switch. So what better way than to, you know, include them in the service? But I think it's boding very possible, or positive, I should say, for the future of the service, and I hope this does come to fruition. It is just a rumor, you know, it is just a leak, so take it with the grain of salt, but I think it makes sense, especially when you look at that initial video of it basically showing how the games are laid out. So, you know, maybe something is coming sooner rather than later. All right, that's gonna do it for today's video. I am going on a liquid diet today because the thought of food just makes my stomach churn. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I forced my way through it. Give me your feedback in the comment section down below. I love all you guys. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.